Welcome to 100 Gems Podcast, home of the champs. And today we got all kind of great people in the room, and we're going to be touching on some sensitive subjects, a few of them. The first thing is Men's Mental Health Month and diabetes. What I want to do is I'm going to pass this off, and I want to get Mr. Ellis in here to come on with it and kick him off, Mr. Ellis.
All right, man. Thank you, Rob, and I'm excited about being here. Happy to kick this in. Men's Mental Health Month. It is, and diabetes is what we're talking about. I am a person with diabetes and have lived with it for about 15, 16 years now. I've had some challenges. Have even dealt with the amputation of one toe and have avoided anything other because we've changed our diet, and we're working on some things, and now we're working on diabetes reversal. And I can tell you that is possible. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with it, but diabetes is a disease, one of the chronic illnesses in our community, that somebody in your family or you almost know somebody that has diabetes. And what I want to say to people, first of all, don't take it lightly. It's a very serious disease. It is a silent killer. It leads to a number of other things. You high blood pressure, heart attacks, things like that. And diabetes is just a culprit. Once it enters into your system, you got to keep your blood clean and cleansed, and our diet and our exercise is really important for what you do. I was eating all wrong. I was doing everything all wrong, even when I had diabetes. Wouldn't take the medicines and things like that. And now I used to take 11 pills for diabetes. Now I'm down to no pills, and I take just one shot a day, and we're on our way to reversing that. But I don't want to tell you that you can do it, because you can't do it alone. It takes practice. It takes regimen. And if you're already under the care of a doctor, it takes them to wean you off of the medicine. So do me a favor. Don't just stop taking your diabetes medicine. I know that metformin has its history of what it's good for and what it's bad for, and most medicines have some side effect or something like that can affect us. But we have to be wise in how we do things and how we approach things, because we were not wise on how we got into the condition that we're in. So diabetes, it leads to dementia, messes with the mind. If you're a smoker with cigarettes and things like that, it can be hectic for you. So you just got to be real careful how you do things. Everything in moderation, right? The sugar, all white stuff, sugar, flour, salt, all of those things are culprits in the body. And then when you have diabetes, high blood pressure, and those things like that, you can really mess yourself up if you overdo those things. And I've seen some people live in some horrible ways because they did not do the management that was necessary when they were first diagnosed. And then I want to reach out, and before I pass the mic back to our next subject, I want to reach out to my brothers, to the men. When you talk about Men's Mental Health Month, it is so important that you know what your system is doing. So if you believe, if you want to practice and get a physician or a doctor, a family doctor or something like that, just to get a checkup, so you can get your blood checked and know your numbers and know what's going on, then you know what to attack and what to celebrate. But I'm pushing men, because oftentimes black men, we find out when we're in the worst condition, when we're almost ready to die. And then we go and we feel like that, and then we go and we try to dress it up and act like we're not going nowhere, and before we know it, the announcement is made. So I'm making an announcement tonight. Go and get you a physician that can help lead you to a better victory. But I think it can be done through diet, exercise, but you got to know your system. And with that, I pass the mic.
Right on. One of the things I heard that it'll sneak up on you if you're not being aware. As for myself, I had a situation because I wasn't aware. I wasn't paying attention. I figured I could just do it because I've been doing it, and I've been doing it good too. And right when I thought I was at my best, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And so just to go on, talk about that mental health piece. The mental health thing, man, it's a different animal, and it plagues our community. I mean, it plagues we house some boys, and every boy that came through has a mental health issue, you know, and they treat them differently. We had a white boy come through. He got treated differently. He was in the middle of the street with a butcher knife. The police came and sat down with him, took him to the gas station, and then to the mental health. He got out an hour later, no doubt. But if that was a brother out there in the middle of the street with a knife, you know, those officers out there and some of those people that deal with that, they don't know how to protest, man. You know, I know for myself, I move a lot, you know, and they might think I'm finna try to do karate or something or make a move. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, when it ain't nothing, man, this is who I am, Jack. You know, it's flavor. You know, I'm not trying to attack you, man. But that's one of the things. But I want to get somebody else in here
well, before you do that, Rob, I wanted to just say this here on that mental health piece, that we're living in a time after COVID. After COVID and everybody was locked in the house and whatever, when we came out, there was no real treatment for anybody. So we're living in a time where the therapist needs a therapist. Yeah. You know, and when it comes to mental health, the streets are running rampant with it. So who do we want to have come take my seat that want to get in on the conversation?
Well, I know my brother right here. Yeah. Okay. Well, come on with it, my man.
Yes, sir. So my name is Clem Richardson. Thank you for having me and whatnot. So I appreciate you, kings and queens, in here. So yeah, we got a serious issue. It was before COVID. We had issues, all right? It's called the post-traumatic slave syndrome, according to Dr. Joy DeGruy. Yeah, these behaviors impact us still now to this day. It was multi-generational trauma. Anybody that you human trafficked from 1550 to 1865, okay, that's about 400 years, then go through civil rights era, right? So we're not too far removed. You strip them of everything that they know and tell them what they eat, then enslave them in certain impoverished areas. That become an issue.
That's a mental health issue right there.
Right there. and the person that put us in those conditions have a mental health condition.
Ain't no doubt about it.
And so anytime we're dealing with it, so let's make it into a context. So what I'm saying today in the here and now, we see us acting out like savages. Some of the areas, I'm just gonna talk about 5 right quick, is environmental factors is brought on by mental health, social factors, okay, drug-induced, DNA, and trauma. You got that?
Yes, sir.
So what are the environmental factors? I'm glad you asked. So the environmental factors is the conditions I might grow up in where there's no running water, there's lead in the water, there's food deserts, there's KFC chicken, JJ's chicken, food deserts, all this kind of stuff that's around in our communities, right? Those are some of the things that's going on. The food in the corner stores the shelf life has been on there about a year, and they go get canned goods from there. So poor eating habits and stuff like that. I never saw a time where kids now have diabetes. Why? Because they don't get out and go do exercise, and that's a whole nother subject. So then there's the social factors. The social factors is how I've been socially conditioned in my home. Scripture says, train up a child the way they should go, and when they're older, not depart. So some of these kids are not being trained up. Why? Because the 80s, when the crack cocaine era hit, it took a lot of the fathers out of the home. So now you got the mother, the queen in there doing the best she can do with these kids. And so some of them growing up with social media, seeing certain things, smoking weed. The weed is not different. It's different, totally different from weed in the 80s and the 90s. I don't want to be high for no 9 hours. I don't know about you, but you smoking a dab and you high for 9 hours. Come on now. So it's totally different. So it's a mental health condition. Then not only that, they talking about gang and violence, you know, then they're eating edibles and all that kind of stuff like that. Then there's fentanyl, then it's so a lot of different things that's happening. Then not only that, you see the increase of domestic violence, where you see the brother, you know, whomever, maybe I'm talking about a man, that would kill the woman and kill the kid too as well. That's a mental health issue. So that's social. Come on, brother.
Just jump in on that piece, man? That is amazing to me. You know, for our young men, because I know coming up, we were smooth. We was trying to get with girls and you know, and really like them, man. You know what I mean? We put a show on. You know? Right,
but see, didn't you have older brothers or uncles or older men that would tell you? So the older men are not around anymore.
Exactly.
They died due to health issues. High blood pressure, working hard in those foundries and all that kind of stuff. And so with that, the man is the missing link. And a lot of times in our community, we suffer in silence because we got this false pride that's going on. I'm not going to go get no help. You know, but anyway, so those are social factors. You know, come on, be a G. What's happening, little G? At 4, 5 years old.
Yeah.
You know, the father or the mother's blowing weed smoke in their face and letting them drink. Put something in his bottle. Put a little brandy in his bottle. I bet you he go to sleep.
It's conditioning.
So it's conditioning. That's the social.
Conditioning.
Then you got the, then you have the drug induced. So now the kid, you know, the father's dealing with the drugs and alcohol. He's in and out of the joint, in and out of prison, or in and out of the mother's life. She might turn to some drinking and drug and alcohol. So it impacts the kid. It impacts her too as well.
Yes.
So now the kid is dealing with trauma. Any trauma that she's dealing with goes right into that navel cavity where it impacts the kid's mental health. Yeah. So now he's born into this condition. They call it ADHD. But Dr. Umar say this: ain't no daddy at home. That's pretty much it. Ain't no daddy there, right?
Sit your butt down.
Right. So with that, he's dealing with the trauma, and then he don't have no daddy here. So you pretty much can't tell me what to do. I'm gonna do what I gotta do to go out here in these streets. So it's environmental. It's impacted by your DNA. You might see your uncle might have a mental health issue, or your dad on his side, there may be a lot of violence. On your mother's side, they in church, but they still got some ways about themselves. So you see the trauma. Now, with that, it's drug induced. Anytime you use drugs and alcohol, it starts in the earlier onset you start using, the more it impact your thought process. So your mind become hijacked and your dreams become hijacked too. Mm-hmm. So what it does is I call it arrest development.
Right.
Now making some different mindset, some different goals. So at 30 years old, I'm still acting like I'm 15. Mm-hmm. At 50, I'm still sagging and I'm lagging in behind because my mind is still is in trap. So those are some of the issues right there brought on by drugs. And then the trauma, we already know.
Yeah.
The trauma in our communities we don't talk about. The sexual abuse, the incest, the violence, the verbal abuse, the trauma of racism, and the economic trauma that we're dealing with. So those that brought on by mental health right there.
To go along with that mental health piece, you know, we got to have some solutions. You know, that's why we in this room, y'all. We looking for solutions on how to deal with these things.
How do you deal with it?
Yeah, how can we help these young brothers and these young men and women, because they affected just as much. You know what I'm saying?
And who are we waiting to come and save us?
Yeah.
You know, who are we depending on to come and save us? Because I hear a lot of people complaining about what the government don't do.
Right.
But the government ain't never did it,
Yeah.
you know, necessarily.
It's up to us.
So it is up to us. And our grandparents, we used to sit around and talk about
Right.
DNA. We knew what granddaddy died from and what the heart attack was. But you ask young people today, they know none of that, because in most of black households, there's no dad.
Yeah.
I had
Right.
100 black boys in the garden when we got this garden on 9th and Ring, 12 to 16 years old, who had all gotten to the garden on a Saturday morning by 8 o'clock on time to work for $20. And I asked the question, how many of you don't know your dad? And 90 of them raised their hand.
Yeah.
I asked, how many of you know your dad but still don't know have a relationship? 5 more boys raised their hand out of 100 black boys, 12 to 16 years old, who got to that garden on time by 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning to make $20 for working for 4 hours. Only 5 of them knew their dad possibly had a relationship if they were telling the truth. In the black house, as long as we lack the resources and people keep leaving home angry and they already got a gun, we're going to keep experiencing murder and death in the streets, or people taking what they need to come back home with. So I think that access is a question that I would ask when we start about resolution. Where did it come from? How did it get here so impactfully? The new facility over there on 12th and Walnut Street has limited beds. You can only stay there for a certain time. So our garden, our project is right down the street from that. I'm always seeing grown folks in hospital gowns walking around because they just left out of the building. So access is this question that I ask, where did it come from? Because if we can identify the culprit, then we might be able to identify or bring up some solutions.
It is some solutions, you know. Come on.
Here you go.
Good day, everybody. Brother Rice Bay. The solution, to me, I can only speak for myself. It starts with self.
Right.
As you dig deep, you have to get rid of some of the education that you've been taught, because those are the things you acting out. You acting out miseducation.
Yeah.
And we don't want to admit where we miseducated at.
Right.
You know, I done played I didn't play some everything, and like you talking about health issues, ones don't know. I've been on dialysis, had a kidney transplant, the whole nine, so I've been through this system, and I'm understanding that.
You get educated when you go through those things. As an individual,
you have to go through certain experiences.
Yeah.
So that means I see a lot of us not coming from out of those experiences and bringing them back to where they're supposed to be. Like in my neighborhood, I'm like, I don't see ones moving how I'm moving.
One thing,
because mentally, you got to know how to. It's hard for you to kind of change what you're doing in the middle of the race. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Without a coach.
Without a coach.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Without a coach. That's what
I got to say that Mr. Ellis, I've been following Mr. Ellis for some years. And I love what the man be doing and how he be drawing them. You know what I mean? I think that's another thing that we have to work on. We got to be able to draw them in, man, to give them something, you know, so we can party to them.
You can. Know? Let me share something with you. Can, because I know we're going to push for time. Being able to meet them right where they are. I work with brothers coming out the joint, whether state or federal. So we come beside them and work with them brothers, let them know. If I know someone has a mental health issue and a lot of them, man, I need to really talk to you because I got my own clinic out there. I work with them, you know, by themselves. The stigma that's placed in our community, don't go get no help, that's a sign of weakness. No, it ain't. The sign of weakness is not getting the help that you need. You know, and so
then sometimes going to get that help though, they go for anything. Yeah. You know, you go and talk to some of those doctors because when I was in the penitentiary and I went and hollered at the doctor and I was just trying to get something to get smooth.
I got you.
You know? And they came out with all kind of bags. But
they got all medication.
Say, hold on, man.
They was already smooth.
They already overdiagnosed and underdiagnosed black and brown and yellow people. So the key thing, when I went through the system, drugs, you know, got out the streets, whatnot, I suffered from some mental health and trauma. Right. But the key thing with me, what helped me was my mentors coaching me, giving me the insight and counseling and whatnot.
Same here.
So I went through natural ways, and then Scripture helped me. You know, the Scripture said, "Let this mind be in you," which is also in Christ Jesus. So that helped me transform the way I was thinking, and that way I can be able to point other brothers to the way that I went. Because we got different levels of mental health. We have clinically, it says, you got the mild mental health, you got moderate, then you have severe.
Right.
So we got like 66% of men, and the numbers are probably even higher now, that won't even get the help. You know, they know that they got an issue, but won't get the help, and we suffer in silence. And then you wonder why, you know, like Don King put a gun to his head and blew his head off. Like, I know dude was suffering. You worth $700 million.
And was having things, wasn't
right.
He was having things.
Boom, he was suffering from depression all that time. So those are some of the solutions. When we see it, being able to meet people where they at. Don't be afraid to do an intervention. The laws need to change because they say now you cannot force a person to get treatment unless because of age they can just choose not to.
Right. I know. Look, one of the things you just said that stood out the most for me is the spirit. Mm-hmm. You know, the spirit in this room right now. I'm talking about, man. I know everybody in here is being driven by the right spirit. Mm-hmm. You know, and one thing I've learned about the Spirit of God, man, when He opened up different areas, you know, it'd be amazing. You know, it's like, man, I ain't see, I ain't know none of that. You know, I done been to every therapist under the sun, and Joe Blow came over here, man, and gave me a clue, you know, and put me on the right track because that's that spirit behind it from Joe Blow, though.
Right.
You know, and we have to be able to recognize that. I think right now we got the right people in the room. I don't know if we want to keep it moving.
Well, Rob, let me just say this here, you know, since I got your eyesight too.
Yes, sir.
Let me just bring that in to hear is that when we talk about at home and we talk about our children, I mainly work with young African-American boys, and they're often surprised because I don't call them little mother or something like that. I call them king. I call them sir. I don't call them kids or boy. I call them my sons, and they call me pops. And so the language that we use will help lead people away. So we have to stop calling our kids names. Don't call your kid crazy. Don't call your kid something negative because then they think that's what they're supposed to be because you already named them in the first place. And when you call them a whole bunch of names, you kind of change it.
Man just said it too. Train them up.
Train them up.
And that's in that training up thing.
Yep. And because we got to keep this train moving,
Yes,
We
sir.
going to go to our next subject, and Brother Clem, I'll say this here, not only with you and all of the wisdom in the room, there are a lot of trained professionals in our community that are African-American that are working with mental wellness, mental illness, mental health, mental treatment. They got a number of terms that they use for it, and different ones that are experted in, if I made up a word, are experts in their particular areas of what they do in mental wellness. And maybe one time, this is a subject that could probably use a whole segment on, and it's
No doubt
many
about it.
parts of it, because most people don't want to admit when they find themselves talking to themselves. I do it.
Most definitely.
I do it sometimes.
Thanks,
How about you say, boy,
be
be
honest.
quiet.
I am I am a mental health professional and drug counselor. So if you need any counseling, look me up on Psychology Today or Manor Behavioral Services. You know, you can look me up right there on Psychology Today. And just reach out from there, all right?
Man,
Right.
we love you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for coming
King.
by. We know that you got a role, and
Yes, sir.
you made that known. And what would we do without you?
Man,
No
we
doubt.
wouldn't do.
I don't want to know. All right, in bed.
Yes, sir.
All right.
One of the things too, I just wanted to touch black mental health. You know, I'm talking about we got to relate, man.
Yes, sir.
Black mental health. You know, we got to be able to relate.
Yes, sir.
I know if I come to you, man, I'm going to be able to relate. You're going to be able to relate to me.
Oh,
You're
most
going
definitely.
to understand what kind of
Most
spot I
definitely.
come
Most
from.
definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's so important, too.
It is.
That's why, you know, we got a substance abuse counseling course
Okay.
that go on. You
Okay.
know, it's just so important, man,
Yeah.
for us to continue to grow
Yes, sir.
and share the information
It
and the
is.
knowledge that we got, man.
It is so true.
Information will breed the growth, and speaking of growth, we're going to grow into the next part of it. And I know that there are people sitting around in this room that can lend to the conversations, and I'm looking, and if I lock eyes with you, and I think it's because you got something you want to say, we're going to talk about it. And so we're glad to have you here, Darvin. Look who's joined us at the table.
Yeah, that's his guy.
We're going to put you in a mic, and we're going to take it to where we're taking it to next. Why don't you take that seat? Let's start off there, and then you're going to be as brief as you can with it, and we're going to move to the next subject. We appreciate that, man.
I got something to go with it. With the mental health piece, it's one of the topics. It's where do the healing begins?
So, in regards to mental health,
You got to speak in that mic,
I'm
brother.
sorry.
Get closer to
Sorry.
it.
So, in regards to mental health, my mind immediately goes towards the solution. And I noticed that immediately, at least from personal experience, just like what Brother Rice Bay said, it just started with self. So if you're not studying, if you're not reading, if you're not a scholar to life or anything that you're going through, or even just probing your surroundings around you, like, you're not going to learn at that point.
Because you know, right.
Well,
there's
Brother
social
Rob, let me
media.
just ask on this real quick. Sorry to
Go
cut
ahead.
you off there, but what do the people that can't read do?
Yeah.
So as you were stating, I believe it was you or it was the brother that was just standing here. It's like there's other opportunities and resources. I mean, there's literacy centers. Like the thing is, there's solutions all around us. We're just not like programmed or trained to just see those right there in our environment. Because even though like we all are from a hood of some sort, but it's a matter of you utilizing what's in your house or what's around you to actually benefit from. No matter than like we're at home. I got books in my house.
Right.
You know, like if I don't tell my son about this book, or if he don't see me being a model reading this book, he's not going to do it. They're going to see what's going on around them, and they're going to copy that or emulate it. Or some people like myself, or like we were saying, that's cut from a different cloth, and they're going to just walk their own path. No matter what's going on around them, they just don't mess with them. You know, so in regards to that, we need more programs such as, like, I know what I do. You know, I work with the youth as well, just like with him. I work at Carver Academy. I'm a contractor with NPS, and I act in the capacity of a gym teacher. So I'm actually there all day with the children, and we're actually teaching focus, confidence, as well as like self-control. A lot of like basic life skills that we tell our children, hey man, I need you to focus, but it was never really taught to them. And I noticed that things are taught through action. Okay, so therefore I need to be able to, you know, impress on their mind the word. They need to invocate that word, and then they have to have an action that follow and repetitiously do that in different activities, and it just impresses on them. And it's
Hey, brother, let me ask you this. That, you know, I'm 63 years old. I mean, I look like it today too.
No,
I'm just happy to be alive.
You look good. Mr. Ellis, man.
Thank you.
With
But I'll
that
tell
hat
you,
tip.
I tell you, I don't understand how we let everything get out of the house. Because back in the day, when we couldn't go to the doctor, and this is in the line of mental health,
Right.
and you cut your foot and you had a bunion or something on it, your grandmama took that same salt pork piece of meat that she put in the greens and stuck it in your shoe, and you walked around with it for a while. Now you couldn't wear that shoe no more, but that salt pork healed that foot. Now we turned around and still ate that same salt pork that went inside of us. And if it can destroy a bunion on the outside of your foot, it could tear up the heart that's beating on the inside of the body. And that's one thing I would say is that in the house, that's why I talk about the in the house resources. Are we discussing what happens out in the world outside of the house? The house should be the first hospital you visit,
Absolutely.
the first church that you visit, the first
library.
school that you visit. All of it should be your first, and it should be introducing you. So when you go out into the world, you know better, and then you come back to the house. Children today don't even know that they're supposed to come back home. Right. Even in going, they will go to school all day, and then after school go somewhere without calling home to their parents, who they know is worried about them, come in after curfew when they know that there's a law out there. Is that a part of mental health or mental wellness or mental concentration?
I want to jump in with what's been said already. We've heard some key points.
Okay.
You know, some options that we have and that we could probably go out there and implement. To be able to do that, we will have to communicate those options effectively, and that's something that we don't do. Is communicate effectively. You know, one of the things, especially our folks, you know, we fast to put each other down or to look down on one another, on someone, especially if they do have a mental health issue and they ain't really got it all together. You did. So what we want to talk about now, how do we use effective communication, and what exactly is effective communication with this dialogue?
I would say that. So I would say that.
So right before you
I
get it,
think
come on,
Bria
Bria,
be
join
good,
us
Mom.
at the table.
Come on up here, y'all, and chime in. If somebody else want to chime in on this, that'll be so nice. Yeah, you still good? I ain't sending you on.
I'll even relinquish my seat to listen to somebody else.
And here's a young man. I really want to hear what the young man got to say.
Oh yeah.
You going first?
I think you should continue with Romel because he had begun to speak and let him
Effective
finish his thought.
communication.
So as far as effective communication, I would say that starts with transparency. You know, if you're not being transparent with the people that's in your circle, and most people they're not transparent because the principle of truth is not practiced. So therefore, if you don't trust people around you, you don't feel comfortable to be transparent with them. Because also too, we got to think of things that we've been through, where you've shared, you know, secrets with a person or experiences with a person, and you've dealt with people where they probably use that against you or hurt you. So therefore, you develop this barrier now. So therefore, that trust is gone. So again, if we don't have that principle of trust, and I would say reiterate it or practiced again, because just because you got your heart broken don't mean you give up on love. You know, so the same thing when it comes to trust, just because a person has abused your ability to trust, that don't mean you can't learn to trust again. So, and unless you can heal from that yourself by, just understanding how did that go wrong. And I think I spoke of this in the other podcast where we were talking about the L. Like you could either learn or you could lose. So anytime you have a so-called loss, at that point, you have to figure out, okay, well, how did that happen? So therefore, it's no different than a football game. We lost the game. We got to watch the footage and figure out how we don't lose that way again. Or a fighter, you studying, how did I lose that fight? And anybody who's been in a physical altercation, is it me? Right. Or after you've been in that fight, you see what happened. You like, I should have hit him when he did that. Or when he did this, I should have did that. So it's like, again, still studying that in the same way as trust and having that transparency.
I know though. One of the things is, I know for me, man, I can see right through you, man. I'm gonna see some garbage. You bring something up, man. I know it ain't right. It's gonna be real easy to point to see. And I think one of the things is that transparency piece is serious, man. And I try to operate like that. However, you can't do that with everybody. Right. You know what I mean? And then when people that been hurt, they really can see. They as a matter of fact, and a lot of times they gravitate to the people that do hurting. They'll quit this dude who used to, do all that old goofball stuff and go find him another one. That's double down on the goofball. Like, man, why I keep going? What am I doing? You know what I mean? But they ain't got to work.
There you go, Bobby, calling people names.
Hey, I want to get Bria in on that. Come on.
Go ahead. Okay, so as far as effective communication goes, I'm a very strong advocate about it, especially with my age group, because we don't understand. For me, it's three things. We don't understand how to communicate, understand, nor trust each other. And without those three things, we fail. And it's because we get cut. That's what the acronym is: communication, understanding, and trust. It cuts us because I don't know him, I don't know her, but when we communicate, we're going to communicate from different perspectives. So it becomes a battle because he's saying his point of view, she's saying hers, but like he said, what's the truth?
What's the truth?
That's where it should lie.
The truth sets you free.
Come on now.
That's
where my mind always goes to.
My man. Can I ask you? I'm sorry, go ahead,
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, I respect that, but, I'm always mindful to look at myself. Sometimes we don't know how to communicate with ourselves, right? And so if I can't search my own heart and have an honest conversation audibly, we talked about talking to yourself. I talk to myself because sometimes I have to say, Bria, get your shit. Like, I had to tell myself that. Right. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. You should have did A, B, C, and D, right? So I can say that to everybody else. Yeah. But sometimes we don't want to be honest with being able to have that conversation with ourselves. So if I can't communicate who I am, what I am, why I am the way I am, how can I effectively communicate with anybody else?
I like
right? I'm just going to be deceiving not only myself, but anybody that comes across my path, right? So when we talk about effective communication, we have to first say, am I willing to look in the mirror and have like a really honest conversation? Sometimes I'm just lazy. Sometimes I'm just naive.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just too good for my own self. Sometimes I'm just too bad for my own self, right? That's that honest, effective conversation. So when somebody come to me, Andre, you ain't got to tell me about my own stuff. I already had the conversation.
I think I heard you say that.
You know what I'm saying? I already told myself how I done messed up. So when you come to me, I'm not offended.
Yeah.
When you call me on my stuff, when you pull me on the carpet, when you calling my phone because you want to confront me on something I know I was wrong on, I ain't gonna trip. Yeah. I ain't dodging your phone calls because you know what? I was bogus. I was wrong.
That's one of the things though, with the starting with self, and being honest with yourself. But a lot of folks, man, don't got the truth. They don't know how to be honest with themselves. Especially some of these, not to be jumping on young folks and different things, but they've been told, they've been given a pile of ain't no telling. Yeah, you know what I mean? And then we got this music that communicates so well, because the music is popping. And I mean, these young folks out here trying to live it, even some of these grown folks. I'm talking about, because if you 50, you ain't got no business sagging. Depending if this your career. Now, if this your career, I feel you, son.
But then that means you got other 50-year-olds. If that's your career, you got other 50-year-olds that's standing with you, right?
But Rob, let's add this when you talk about effective communication, because we're staying there for a second. But look at this here. I say this, and Bria understand when I say it all the time. And I'm in theater. I'm an actor. I'm a writer. I'm a director, and have taught that for many years. And so on stage, we have to be effective in our communication in a number of ways, to the actor, to the writer, to the story, and to the audience and the viewer that is watching it. And listen and silent. I'm going to throw this here as it relates to effective conversation. Listen and silent are two words that are spelled with the same 6 letters and are similar in meaning, but very few people know how to do both. And I think another thing that we do when we talk, we don't pay attention to the punctuation. That's why I say breathe, because a comma means that a thought might get ready to be changed, but in the same thought, but a period means they're done. So sometimes we start talking before another person gets to their period and things like that. And facial expressions are important in effective communication, because I talk about the black folk back before. I was in church talking one time, and I was a kid about 7 years old, and I was talking, and I saw my mama look at me. She gave me that look, and I just kept on talking because I thought because I was in church, she wasn't going to do nothing. And I kept on talking and talking till I couldn't talk no more because my mouth was like this. It was knocked inside my face. And then she went back to praising God. That was effective communication.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so those are just some tools that listening to one another and being silent while listening and not pre-thinking, because most people don't listen to understand. They listen to reply.
No doubt. I think just to take that, we can go to our next subject, and that's unhealthy relationships. You know? I'm talking about
Where you going?
it's
How many people got to get up on the table for that one?
Yes.
Somebody get it's so important. I'm excited to hear. Yeah. I'm excited to hear what the men gonna say on this as relates to unhealthy relationship as we get going. Rob, go ahead.
Unhealthy relationships. You know, that's one of the things I've noticed that in some unhealthy relationships they be having a gang of effective communication going on. Man. You know, it just come out wrong. You know. I also know that unhealthy relationships lead people down some real ugly paths. You know what I mean? And you can get caught up in an unhealthy relationship because somebody look good. You know what I mean? Or they talk good. You know? But all the time, the spirit behind it is all, you know, want to tear you apart. You know, that's something about it. And you find people staying in those unhealthy relationships. That's business relationships. You know what I mean? The boyfriend, girlfriend thing, and all that old crazy stuff. So I just want to just touch on, you know, a few pieces about unhealthy relationships and what can we do about it.
I think in reference to unhealthy relationships, most people stay in unhealthy relationships based on their experience and what they know and what they've been through. And what they seen. Like, you can't have an effective, healthy relationship unless you actually seen one and you have a network of people that can navigate you, you know what I'm saying, the do's and don'ts, the wills and won'ts, and what to accept. So most of us mimic what we see. You know what I'm saying? We mirror our ideology. You know what I'm saying? If I'm smooth, if I'm laid back, that's kind of my poise. I'm cool, calm, and collective. But if my mama was toxic and my daddy was toxic, I, you know, genetically, if you will, mimic that in my relationships. Like most women who never had a father, they imagine what love looked like. Mm-hmm. And so because that is so permanently embedded in their head, they chase that imagination versus the actual example that may or may not ever been get in front of them. And most men who was raised by women, most men can chime to this, the relationship they had with their mama, that's the only relationship they really can relate to, whether it was healthy or toxic. So if your mama yelled at you and your mama told you wasn't nothing and she told you all aggressive behavior, you can relate to an aggressive woman because you was raised under them conditions. But when it changed to talk about peace, it's almost foreign. Like, how do I reciprocate this energy? Because I never had it. So a lot of our relationships, whether they be toxic or healthy, base off what you experience because we master our conditions.
Yes, sir.
As black people, that's one thing we do. You can give us good, bad, ugly, and we're going to make the best out of it. But it ties into mental health. That same conditioning allows us to work better under the conditions that we are conditioned for.
Yeah.
So a lot of toxic relationship, when you sit back, you be like, if you look at his mama, she act the same way.
Yeah.
You look at his sister or his upbringing in business. If he come from a street mentality, he more of a hustler. He couldn't talk about the formality of business. So a lot of how he relate, our reaction, go back to mental health, our reaction based on what we know.
Yeah.
And if we wasn't educated formally, we can't perform on certain levels. So a lot of our defense mechanisms is based on our lack of knowledge to perform.
Yeah, no doubt. I got to say that, I came up in the household where it was some, it was a lot of things going on. It was, and one of the things that I seen, though, was I didn't want to be like this. I ain't want to be off the rocker. I had a couple uncles and cousins. When they drank, it's on and cracking. I'm talking about it's going to be some fighting and all kind of different things. And my thing was like, oh, no, that ain't it, But I tried it out. I did try it out, though. I gave it a shot, and I said, oh, no, this ain't it. I could do this better. If I listen a little bit, and fortunately, though, I was blessed with men that came into my life. That's what happened back then, though, man. We got groomed. I don't know about the rest of these. I got groomed, you know what I mean? I went to school. In real life, fella sat me down, man. It's boom, 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 and it wasn't nothing nice. I'm like, man, you ain't got to say it that hard.
But Brother Rob, do you think that relationships would be healthier these days if men were responsible for each other?
No doubt about it.
Do we go to our brothers we know that's slapping on his wife at home and calling her out of names or treating the daughter the same way because he just may have an issue with women, and do we really like them?
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Because we
And
got
then
a
the
lot
woman, too,
a
though.
lot of that going on
We
too.
can't
Men in
put it
households that
on
don't
the
really
fellas.
like the woman that they with.
Yeah.
Because you can love somebody and not like them. How important is it that we be responsible to you? I ain't gonna hang out with you because when you beat your wife, because I don't beat mine. Not like that.
It was once a time. It was once of a time that men held the social standard for men.
Yeah.
You couldn't be if you wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, you couldn't be considered a man if you didn't follow man law. You couldn't be a dad per se if you didn't meet the criteria of a dad. So I don't know the exact era, but it was a detachment from us establishing man law. Like, you ain't no player if you done did what the players did. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't know if it's a social
You wasn't
media.
no player if you ain't get groomed.
Well, you had to be laced with a certain level of game.
You ain't
feel
get
me?
it.
And you had to be able to perform.
Yeah, no
on that
question.
level. But men in all walks and category established what the criteria was for whatever. If you was a hustler, if you was in the streets, if you was a player, if you was a dad, that scale was put there for you, and you knew. Just innately, if I want to be a dad, this is what I need to do. If I want to be a man, I need to check these boxes. If I want to be a player, I need to have myself together. And how did you know? Mirror image of the men that already were established. And I think some detachment to society, and I mean, I grew up in an era where I can identify this for the youth. We don't have a social standard for who you want to be. And social media allows you to mimic in so many ways the gratification of saying, I am whatever I appear to be.
Hey, I got you now too.
Oh, AI can make you look like whatever.
Hey, it's going down.
Cause remember, I shared with my guy earlier. I said, it used to be that your net worth was in your network.
Yeah.
Now you can establish your net worth out the back,
out the gate.
And it messes up so many levels of relationship because a woman don't know the level of a man because she don't scale him by him. She scale him by the people that accept him.
Yeah.
And if you
a
don't,
smart woman.
but that's why I said the generational has detached because when we say smart, what's the level?
Or wise.
Oh, y'all going to go into something now. Wait, before you go there. Let's stay where we are. Because there's some women. There's some women here, but let me just say this here. I'm going to say this from that perspective. Me and my wife, we struggled for a while because I didn't take the time to get to know her for the woman that she was. I was trying to get her to be the woman that I wanted her to be for me, for society, for everybody. I looked at her. But then when I saw the value of her in our relationship and taking care of our family, and that she had already been raised, and I made a really, really, really good choice in the woman that I had. How important is it for men, even if you got to start all over again, to get to know the woman for who she is? Do you even know your woman's goals, what she would like to, her dreams and things like that? How important is that?
I gotta. We can go into the next. But it fit. It's why do we hate ourselves? Why we hate ourselves? You know, in a lot of ways, I know that fella, man, jumping on that girl. He don't like himself, man. None. You know what I mean?
But he know his pedigree is inadequate to perform.
There we go.
Most people don't like the mirror.
There we go.
You know what I'm saying?
Can't stand it.
You could put the mimic on and never look in the mirror and convince yourself that what people see is what you want them to see, because it's three people. It's who you are, who they think you are, and who you really are. If they don't line up, that's why you hate yourself, because you know that you don't meet up to what you say you are. If I tell you I got $1 million, I'm betting right now, and you call my bluff, you gonna see me change my demeanor because you called my bluff. I didn't expect that. But if I am that I say I am, and I can hold my water and wait, I'm confident. Right. Nothing changed about me. And a lot of times when you see somebody, they have been held accountable to a standard that they almost propose that they can meet.
There we go.
If I tell you I ain't nobody and I can't do nothing, my standard is here and I can meet that level. But if I gave you the perception that I was up here and I was doing this, and you said, well, okay, Polo, well, check this out. We got $1 million deal on deck, and you talk $1 million worth of game. Let's put it in the press. Yeah. Oh, man, you tripping. You doing too much. What happened?
I'll call you later.
Yeah. Oh, no, I ain't calling him at all. I'm a backbite you. Because guess what? Now I got to make myself feel sufficient in some other manner. So that's why you see people aggressively try to say the lie change 1,000 times, the truth stay the same.
To go on that, man, the fella that was Clem that was here early, he was talking about, you know, how we were, in a lot of ways, man, we've been conditioned to hate ourselves. You know, I'm talking about from way back when, and they had a laid out plan, a mapped out plan, how to get black folks to hate themselves and each other, and it's working. You know what I mean? These penitentiaries. When I first was in the just running around, there wasn't that many penitentiaries. I'm talking about. I know, but they came up with that rap. And they say, man, this is what you finna rap about. You finna rap about going to the penitentiary and hating your brother. And they ain't no question. They really in it now. You know, but they started way back when they took the when they killed the man in front of the wife and the kids. You know what I mean? Oh, he ain't nothing. And they put us against one another. And we've been against one another for so long, man. I think that's why it's so hard for us to collaborate and to grow, man. But because if we collaborate, I know if I got something slick that Rome can use, you know, and I keep it to myself, I'm out of pocket. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm talking about, but thank God we now do have a place where we can collaborate and break bread, man. We've been conditioned. Yeah, we've been conditioned to hurt ourselves. Come on, my brother.
Oh, well, I was just, when I was speaking to the brother Polo earlier, we were talking about I was actually speaking more on the access of principle. Like basically these principles, they have to be demonstrated. And again, we know that everybody has their own principles and ways in which they come. We were talking about how like you could be of a different tribe and we might not align. But I was speaking on teamwork about how that means when two or more individuals come together to achieve a common goal. So we have to find that area of common. So therefore, we're able to break that bread or come together as one. And again, he might, and this isn't true, but I'm just saying he might have certain principles. You know, you got to say that he might have certain principles that that don't align with mine. But as long as I'm demonstrating the true light that I know that, let's say that my principles are, you know, just love and truth, right? Mm-hmm. As long as I'm demonstrating that and it's resonating, and I know it's going to resonate, because again, as long as I'm coming in a pure way, pure heart, and in pure light, I know that he's not going to reject it, especially like we were talking about earlier in regards to like mental health, people who have possibly been through stuff like that, even though they may tend to go back to those people, the people who have been through it or had that experience, they actually can also become the expert in that field.
No doubt.
Because now that they're the expert in it, we know how to navigate past it. We could pick up on if he is accepting my trust or not. Because it, just like even with the communication too, we also paying attention to that body language. And we was talking about that earlier too. Because I noticed even with me working with the youth at the schools, I was having a couple of issues where the youth, they don't comprehend body language. They don't understand what, looking left and right and looking a dude up and down insinuates, and then I'm like, what are you trying to do? And then he's like, what do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. And he completely oblivious to this, but we know what that means. If I look any of y'all up and down right now and look left and right, you especially pull my pants up, how you gonna feel? Right. Threatened. Right? What's up?
What was the first form of communication we had when we was younger?
Say body language.
No, interpersonal.
Interpersonal.
They form of communication is social media.
Okay.
99% of kids grow up in that phone.
Right.
So if you in that phone, 67% of body language is communication. If you in that phone, you don't even have interpersonal communication because you seeing that.
Right.
So
and
if you take that away from the senses, you don't show the value in it. So if you like when a kid have to do an interview now, they shut down. They nervous because now that's probably their first time having to talk to somebody about themselves. They normally text. Your kids nowadays will text you what they feel with emojis and capital letters and all that versus articulating how they feel. So their emotions and everything that make you human has been taken away from them through social media and communication through mass production. So now if you grew up in that robotic society, if you will, you no longer have that human ability to communicate non-verbally because you never had to intimately attach. If I want to get my point across to you, I look you in the eye. I make a body language. That's what make us human. So even if I don't speak your language, you can speak Chinese. I can tell when you're mad. Right. I can tell what you're trying to get across through your interpersonal communication. But if you take that away, but social media and phones and tablets, but think about it. It's our fault as parents because we'll throw the tablet to them before we sit and talk to them and not tell them what, but why they communicate. Books are out the way because guess what? Here, you got games on your phone.
Listening here, it's the lack of knowledge. Yeah. And the people perish for the lack of knowledge of self, knowledge of history, knowledge of knowing what the hell you even talking about, why you here, what's your purpose. Do we talk about those things with our children? We so concerned about the senator or whoever he is, the politician that want to take the history books out of the schools. I'm not for that, but I got it at home. He can't take that away. What I do at home, he cannot take away. So I think the more we learn self and those things about our history, we love ourselves more. We impart that into the young people that we work with. So now we have a room full of love because they start learning that they don't have to use the pistol to solve everything. They can do it through effective communication, even if they have a mental health issue and might be suffering with diabetes already.
Come on now, Mr. Ellis. You take us right into our next subject, too. Conflict resolution. Conflict resolution.
It's in the house.
Yes, no doubt about it.
In a mighty way up in here.
Yeah.
It's in the house.
Yeah, conflict resolution. I would think, I know dealing with conflict. One of the things was being a black man and coming up like I did. It was almost that I was looking for it. You know what I mean? I created it, and I also looked for it. Conflict. Yeah. The resolution part came through the grooming, and you know what I mean, on how to communicate effectively, and then what you trying to do.
Now I got a question to that. When back in the day when we had conflict in my household, it was a dictatorship.
Oh, that's outside.
It's a dictatorship. Like if I had a conflict, this was not diplomatic. It wasn't let's talk about it. Hey, I want to get my part across. I mean, I don't know about nobody else's household, but whatever my mama said, that was the solution.
Yeah. That's back in the day. And I feel you.
So when you take away the order of operation, you take away the ability to digest. And it's interesting I had this conversation. I said, when you get older, you almost be lost.
Right.
Because if you didn't have a voice as a child, how do you digest situations as a preteen, as an adult, because you didn't get that first teaching at home.
Right.
And we got a problem. Let's talk it out. Now, conflict resolution in the streets now, because young parents are young parents and still young kids at the same time, that don't exist, because if I don't see conflict resolution in a healthy manner, I don't have anything to imitate. So the only thing I can see is what happened on TV, what happened on this video game, what happened on social media, and I mimic what I take in. And that's what you're seeing with these kids when it's a conflict. The resolution is the option that was given in society. And society has got so relaxed on the solution being violence that you turn around and say, what is your options?
Right.
Because most of us based it on what? Fear or respect.
Right. You know, in our community, you know, conflict could be, I'm looking at you wrong. You know, I stepped on your foot. Or I said, have a nice day to the young lady that's at the counter and you over there. You know, and I just got through serving. And you have a nice day, sweetie. You know, that can be a conflict. That's one of the things I see go on in our community, man, especially with our young people. Everything is a conflict. You know, he got more money than me, or he got a better car, or, you know, it's a conflict. You know, and it's hard sometimes to see what kind of resolution could we bring to them.
You know, Bobby,
where it's gonna stick.
Well, it's interesting that you.
Where it's gonna stick.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, but I want to ask two things. One is, I think you got to bring self back in there again too. You know, what are the conflicts within your own self? Right. You know, you got to identify that if you can. Yeah. You know, the conflicts there. And why does, when we talk about conflict and resolution, why do we always go straight to violence? Is that what we've been in? Don't we have conflict and resolve in financial literacy? Don't we have conflict and resolve in education? Don't we have conflict and resolve on the job? Don't we have conflict and resolve in how we effectively communicate? Don't we have conflict and resolve in our treatment of diabetes and mental health and all of the things that we talked about in every form, in everything that we live? In every form of everything that we live, there is some conflict and resolution. It's a part of life. Andre Muhammad is here in the house, and I want to get him to the mic on right. This subject. So if we could just, or Ramel maybe could just change seats with Brother Muhammad and let him come up, and we want to just conflict resolution. He's been a long, upstanding member of the conflict and resolution identities here in our town. So, Andre, I don't know what you want to lend to this conversation, but the mic is yours.
Well, I appreciate being a part of this. This is a very, very, very powerful situation we have here in dialogue in regards to conflict. You know, when you look at the word conflict, you also got to think of the word confrontation. Because from conflict, you will have confrontation. I'm a martial artist of 50 years. And in that, I learned that the more you learn how to bring destruction to an individual, the more you learn how to be patient and understanding so you could avoid conflict. Most of the young people this day and time, they easy to run and go get the gun, or to get some weapon, or where they have multiple tax situations with their friends and so forth. We got to learn how to manipulate and learn how to master ourselves so that we can master others. What I mean by that is, there's many times I could have had a conflict or been in a confrontation, but I was able to weather the storm based on my mind being able to overrule their way of thinking. I've been in situations where I was almost robbed. And then I've been in situations where I had guns pulled on me. I was able to talk to that individual and master them through telling them, look, this form of aggression is not necessarily needed. You know, because there's something deeply rooted in that individual that they want to bring conflict to you. There's something deeply rooted in that individual when they want to take your life for little or nothing at all. So you got to try to go to the root of their disease and try to bring dis-ease. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, there's many things we could talk about in terms of conflict. Like Andre talked about the conflict we have in our human bodies with
sickness, the conflict we have in our relationships. You know, all those things are deeply rooted in something that is based on our traumas from our past or psychological traumas of slavery. You know, we learned how to hate one another. Mm-hmm. We hate one another.
Yeah,
that's why it's easy for us to take and mistreat and abuse one another. You don't mean nothing to me because I don't mean nothing to myself. So I'll be easy to shoot you, to stab you. I mean, just the other day, you know, we heard where two women were killed. We heard where a baby was killed. We heard where the brother hit or killed his sister and took and buried her body in another location in Wisconsin and then turned the gun on himself. You know, we have a lot of tragedies going on in our community because we got a lot of hate for one another.
We do.
You know,
we do.
One of the brothers, I believe it was you, was talking about how we quick to, if you look at me wrong, you know, what you looking at? Or you call it mean mug. When I was coming up in my time, it was a little different. Things wasn't always gunplay, you know. And if somebody looked at you wrong, so what?
So what?
You know,
and we thump.
You know.
I know when I came up, we was going to thump. And then shake hands.
And then shake hands.
And then shake hands. Yeah.
Yeah. And we marched and we marched
Yes,
and we
yes.
protested
Yes.
and we sang the song "We Shall Overcome."
Yes, sir.
But we never came over. You know, it still hasn't happened yet. So when you talk about conflict and resolution, I think that the main thing with that is, I like the word self, but I think the main thing is that we got to open it all up wide and we got to begin to look at it from as many aspects and forms as we said. It's a big old world out here. Yes, if you never traveled or left Milwaukee, you never see that anything else looks anything different or where people act. And you might even begin to appreciate some of the things about Milwaukee when you go. And that's the conflict of oneself. And one start wondering, why was I born into a poor family? Why come we can't travel? Why we only have to eat at McDonald's? Why you're going to embed all of those things in children. And because of the untreated mental illness and trauma that go on, we cast them off. We pass them on in schools. We falsify it in the churches and speaking to them on Sunday mornings or whenever we have them or on the telechurch now, you know, for that. And we just aren't honest. Yeah. We just are not honest with. We can avoid a conflict if we say, I love you, but there's a couple of things about you that challenges me. Right. And this is what it is. Then I don't have to be in your face playing like I like you when I don't, because I don't like the tone of your voice. I told people all the time, if I wouldn't have been an actor, I don't know how I would have got a girlfriend, because my voice is so high pitched and things like that until I learned how to use it. You know what I mean? It made a difference. But I think until we really have respect for yourself, respect for others, and things like that. The conflict resolution is a whole nother show. That's another show where we can go on, Bobby, and if it's nothing else to say, we can go to that next subject because time.
All right. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I want to go on, resolution, spiritual gangbang. A lot of times, folks that's cloth or what have you, they hit you over the head, man. You know what I mean? And they group up. My question gonna be like, what's your take on spiritual gangbang?
Spiritual gangbanging?
Spiritual gangbang.
I'm gonna wait. I want to hear.
Spiritual gangbang.
Well,
can you? All right.
I know how it felt when y'all was two dudes sitting on that little.
All right, that's
I'm gonna wait.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
All right.
Okay.
Yes.
My name is Deanna. Everybody calls me D. And so, it's great to be invited here by some of my friends and peers and people that I respect. So, okay, can you hear me now?
You got it. You good?
Oh,
you
maybe
good.
I'm too short. Okay, so I would like to first off speak about spirituality and say that a person's religion and their choice in which God or religion that they believe in should be their own desire and their own opinions, and another individual should respect that unless it's your mother, father, or you still under a roof where you being raised and you being told what to do. But so in my case, I speak for myself because I feel like I'm currently in a spiritual battle because my dad is a pastor, but my dad is a Baptist pastor. However, my husband is a Jehovah's Witness. But when I met my husband, he was disfellowshipped and he wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. And so we vibed and we afterwards, after we got married. But so here's the thing. We vibed and we fell in love and we got married and everything was all about us. And so it has come to a point in my marriage that like I kind of feel like I'm battling, like, do I believe in what my dad has taught me and shown me all of my years growing up and I'm 54 years old, or do I listen to a man that I love and believe in what he's telling me because he's saying that he's right? So I had to convince my husband that I'm my own person and let me love and believe in the God that I serve, because I've always had my things together in my life before I came across you or you came across me, or else you wouldn't have chose me to be your wife. So let's understand that I'm not a bad person because I'm not choosing your religion. I respect your religion because I love you, and you should do the same for me if you love me.
I agree.
Are you a bad child because you don't choose your dad's?
Well, I could be, but my daddy told me no matter what I choose, I'll still always be his baby, and he respect my wishes.
Okay, that's cool.
That's something there. I found that spirituality is a very personal thing. Of course, we're going to receive knowledge and information from those that are around us, and they're going to give us, of course, you got to go fetch it yourself. You got to go get in that book and find your way. And if you true about it, you're going to come up with it. You know what I mean?
And so I've read the Bible and I've read scriptures and I've got knowledge and wisdom from people that are older than me. However, I've asked my husband and other witnesses all the same question. If somebody makes a mistake or they sin or they do something wrong, why are they cast out of the congregation and kicked to the curb and disowned if God said love everybody?
Literally.
Okay?
Literally.
Help me understand because I don't. So I'm saying if you make a mistake and you sin and you saying, oh no, he did something bad, he's no longer a part of the congregation, he can't be here. But yet you can go and knock on the doors of other people that you don't know and convince them to believe in God. Why should we believe you? Because you won't even show love to your own family member.
Speaking of, I hate to be bringing up
Bobby,
something.
but you ain't got to run too much. I'm here to help you, and because well, the thing about it is that if we go there, we got a whole nother show on religion and spirituality that we could talk about. And the subject and the subject was about spiritual gangbanging, and I think what you talked about goes right along with it. But we got a brother at the table, Brother Chris, I believe, is at the table, and he's been itching to scratch this subject. Go for it.
The Bible verse that I thought about was when you said spiritual gangbanging, was we fight not against flesh and blood, but principalities and powers, and rulers in high places, dark places. That a lot of the stuff I talked about, the mental health, the conflict resolution, that there is a spiritual element that's plaguing people behind the scenes. And I think whether you are Christian or Muslim, every culture has a religious background that believes in spirituality, right? There's not really a culture. I think we are probably the first time atheistic where we don't believe in any spirituality. But for the thousands of years that humans have been here, they have believed in some type of spiritual world, some type of spiritual realm. And there are spirits that at least I believe as a Christian, that are plaguing people, plaguing communities. The same way you have Christians, saints, and soldiers, you have demonic saints and soldiers that pray evil and wickedness out on people and out in the world. And I think that there's a spiritual element that gets a hold of people. Sometimes when you feel yourself getting so angry or getting so enraged that it's like this spiritual hijacking that comes in. And next thing you know, you're saying words and saying things that were not even of you, you know, and you come back and after you calm down, you're like, that wasn't even me talking, right? That's not what I really meant. That's not what I really wanted to convey in this particular conversation, but something came over me and it took me over. So I think the same way somebody can catch the Holy Ghost, right? Like you can catch a demonic spirit as well. And so that's what I took away with the spiritual gangbanging.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's what you was hitting at.
Okay.
But I think there are spirits that can cause conflict within families, with husbands and wives and, you know, children with their parents and stuff like that. That's causing chaos in our community as well.
I think you're right on point with the subject, and I want to just say this here, but spirituality to me is very different than religion. I think you can be spiritual and not necessarily be religious. I have backed away from the traditional church way of doing it. As much as I love God and worship and serve God in the best way that I can't be as perfect as the church would like me to be, but I can be perfected. A lot of people have been church hurt, and a lot of people have come back into the world angry from the church when they should have come from the church happier. I was just in a conversation with somebody when we talk about when people die, we cry. When we're supposed to rejoice. When somebody's born, that's when we're supposed to cry. They're coming into the cruel world and you know what they're going to have to go through and things like that. And so spiritual gangbanging, when we forcing people to be in churches, and I talk about church because that's how I serve, but I know that there are different forms of religion, and so I'm not giving nobody a pass, because however you serve, there may be some conflict and resolution and whatever it is that you're doing. But when people I tell people all the time, if you join the church and they let you testify, don't you get up and testify that you was no homosexual, you was a thief, a prostitute, because somebody gonna say, baby, you need a ride home. Somebody from the church, I'm going to show you how you can serve God and still do those things. You know what I'm saying? And people, stuff, and things, I believe, is what take us to hell. You know, and if we are really spiritual, we can't be gang-banged on. You know, and then you have the vision where the Church of God in Christ, all of these preachers is over here, and then the Baptist preachers are over here at the Baptist church. Sorry, y'all. Not all Baptist churches, but in some of them you can smoke your cigarette out in the parking lot. But over at the Church of God in Christ, it used to be the women couldn't wear the pants, but they done got so spiritual. Is gangbanging when we're led by people that are imposturing to believe that they convinced themselves that God called them to the position that they were to be the leader of the gang called the church.
And let me add to that, Mr. Ellis.
Before we go on, because I think you're going to be able to chime in real good with this.
Okay.
Because our next subject is church hurt.
Right.
You know? Yeah. I'm talking about you flew right into it. Yeah, that's the spirit, though. I believe that's the spirit that's leading this conversation. Anyway, we following through. And you could go ahead and talk about it.
Well, some people, I believe, Mr. Ellis, that some people have become church hurt is because we living in some very trying times right now. We've suffered like the pandemic with the COVID and everything, and our communities have been like closed in and things like that. So when you come out into the community and you go to church, sometimes, and I'm not knocking nobody, but sometimes they might pass the tray around a few different times. I've been at churches where they be like, where my $100 people at? Or, you know, and some people feel embarrassed if they don't have the ability to pay what yeah, they do. And yeah, and ain't no more 10s and 20 people left, you know? So they do that, and it's a form of embarrassment for some people that may be struggling inside themselves. And that's part of the reason why some of the people hold in with dealing with mental health, because if somebody's asking you for something you ain't got, And then you think a bad thought like, how could I go out and get this to give it to the pastor? Because this is what he's asking me. If somebody's embedded in you that they are who you should believe in and who you can trust, then why not try to do something wrong to go get some money and bring it back to me here?
Be excited when the known dope dealer come to church on Sunday.
Absolutely.
See, brother, when you gonna come on in full time because them skills and he know that brother just might come and bring some residual offering on that particular Sunday. You have to control me in this subject because I know what goes on in the back office and I know what goes on in the back office, and we aren't delivering people in church anymore. We're expecting people coming to church to deliver to us. We're getting out of there as fast as we get in,
Yes,
and we don't do it during the week. We don't have the church for the young people no more during the week. I remember I was so sick of church I fell in love with it because I didn't learn what music and singing was until we were there. And so I think church hurt has made it hard for people to go back in the world and be better selves, or they have to go back into the world and find something else. And sometimes it's a whole different religion that they latch on to, and maybe that's where they should have been in the first place.
You know, church hurt. One of the things for me, I definitely went to church, and a lot of times the preacher or someone they you know, I kind of stood out. They would always try to scoop me, you know, and I had a couple skills here and there and doing a few things. And my thing was, you know, like, hold on, man, you know, I'm here to worship and to have a nice time and praise God. But they really be trying to take you over. Say, man, you come on over here. I need you over here. And I'm like, man, hold on. I ain't say nothing about no deacon. I respect the deacon, and I respect what you're doing, but that don't mean that I'm gonna let you snatch me up like that. You know?
That hurt you?
Yeah, I didn't. Right, I got away. You know what I mean? So I found myself visiting different places. Of course, it's the personal thing, but that's real, man. They and like you said, those $100 lines. And when I first heard of the $100 line and the $1,000 line and the $500,
And they had that at the club,
I
too.
could
Did you know
not
that?
believe it. I said, this is, and then they had the time machine for stuff.
My background.
Bobby up in there setting people up for robberies and carjackings because the evil-minded people sitting there waiting for them to leave to go home and know what they got in their pocket because they saw them pull that bankroll out and pay.
Right, and that just leads back to what I said. That should be your own choice, your own opinion, and it should be up to you to choose the religion or the respect of God that you want to earn, because at the end of the day, we all have our own opinion, and you shouldn't have to be forced into agreement with somebody else's decisions on how they view or value God.
I do agree. I do. Well, you know, we got Les just joined the show, and I know he been sitting back patiently. He got something on everything we done talked about. So come on, Les, man, let's hear some.
I only want to say one thing, and it's we forgetting a big thing: the purpose of the church. The purpose of the church is not to condemn; it's to heal. And you're gonna get bad elements of everything. You get a bad element preacher. You get a bad element of a teacher. And I'm hearing a whole lot of negative statements about the church, and I think this is the improper forum for that, because everybody's had bad experiences in every aspect of life. But for me to sit here and hear all the condemnation of the church, it's kind of hard to tolerate. That don't promote healing, that don't promote unity. And if we get down to the basis of what this whole forum is about, we have to understand the purpose of this forum and understand the steps to unify and come to our power, to what fruitions is that we need to do in our community. There's a lot being said here tonight.
You know, Les, I think a lot of it, too, is we never talk about some of this, and it's real. It's happening. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone in here is trying to take away. We do need exactly what you just said. You absolutely right. However, we still have to face the music, man. We got to see things for how they really is, so that we able to address them effectively. And how you just brought that is really about healing, no doubt about it. And go ahead, man, finish up and come on, give it to us.
Like I said, for the most part, a lot of people don't understand the Messiah's purpose. He didn't come for Gentiles. He didn't come for anyone but the church itself, because it was so off course. And again, we find the church off course. I think that's a consensus. You know what I'm saying? I think we all can attest to a time where we experienced an unanointed church. There was no anointing, and we got false prophets everywhere. Revelations prophesies about these times. But when you find a church home, when you find that real true shepherd, and you understand the purpose of what you are there for, to manifest your power, to bring others into and unify our community in one voice, one purpose, and one direction. That's truth. It's all about truth. We should be able to recognize the truth when we hear it, and we should be able to digest the truth when it's directed toward us. So yeah, the church got problems. Living is problems. Living life, everyday living is hard enough.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, and I thank you for this few minutes. But the one thing I just don't want to lose sight of is how the church is the pathway to truth. And once we get that truth, installed in us, half our problems is over with before it gets started. We have to be able to accept the truth, recognize the truth, and then practice in truth. And it all starts with the church. That's all I want to say.
That was strong, Bobby. That was good. And I don't think anybody was and just, you know, to piggyback. I think that whatever works for a person works. It's not only the church, it's whatever place or choice that you choose, as long as it's good for you and it's going to help you treat people well, and that it has God principles at the head of it. And that's the teaching that everybody is following. For me, that's what works. And right now I'm worshiping with Reverend Pillow and Sister Sheets.
All right. All right.
Subject change.
The next subject, I'm pretty sure everybody in here gonna be able to touch on.
Come on, Darvin.
Yeah.
If we don't do nothing else, we'll make Rodney Poe sing. If nothing else, so while we having church, while we having church, let's have an A selection.
The next subject that we're gonna talk about actually is self-hate.
Self-hate. Well, Darvin Moore's come to the table.
Yes.
You know, he's a definite, and I'm not afraid to use this word when I talk about Darvin, the word guru, in our community, in the many facets that he is. He is like a diamond that just hasn't been totally launched in our community, totally, and that's good, because now we can still have our time. Darvin Moore and Rodney Poe is here. You know, Rodney Bill's an international artist.
Rodney Poe, y'all see Ice Bone in the back. Hey man.
Yeah, go ahead, Bobby.
Going
take
down.
it.
All right, so the subject is self-hate. What do I think when I hear, just self-hate? I think that you guys kind of touched on it earlier. I think a lot of it is stemmed from our childhood. A lot of that self-hate comes from, some of the parents as well. Like one thing that I noted about me, and I think it carries on with me today, is that, my mom always called me a genius. You know why? Because every day she overlooked my flaws. I know I was messing up, man, on a daily basis, but she still called me a genius. And like sometimes when I sit around, I'm studying, and I think a lot of that just comes because my mama told me, hey, boy, you that bag.
Yeah.
And so I think, a lot of that self-hate comes from the people around us, that's not giving us some positivity. And so I think it's more of, instead of self-hate, it's the community hating on the individual. So if we love on each other, then that self-hate gonna go.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. So I'll let Mr. Poe or the sister hit on that a little bit.
Well, I know just what you're saying because I have 3 sons myself, and so I am a firm believer in like love, peace, and unity and all that, because like, for example, whenever it was one of my sons' birthdays, I was expressing to my grandkids that I always gave all 3 of my kids a gift, but whoever birthday it was, they got the most gifts, because I wanted to show them that they were all loved by me and they were all equal, even though they were individually different in their own way. I wanted them to show them we all getting gifts, and it's all of our birthday. We all celebrating together. And a lot of the self-hate comes from a lot of the younger youth. They don't have the ability to respect their elders anymore. I mean, people are so disrespectful in our community. The way I was raised, you see a grown-up, you respect that grown-up. You don't be cursing in front of them, moving differently in front of them. If they tell you to have a seat, you respect that elder as an individual and like they were your mother or father. And so a lot of that comes from lack of respecting the leaders, and a lot of this following around here, like the guy had mentioned, this social media has our kids so corrupted because they're following what they're being told on this internet versus listening to a brother or sister in our community that can be steering them in the right direction. It's all from lack of respect and how they are being raised. Now, this younger generation is just way out of control, and they don't have any respect for others. So anytime I see a group of young individuals, I'm not fearful of them. Like, I walk up to them and say, hey, how y'all doing? I mean, I work at Freighter, so I'm in the community, and it's for me to approach a group. Like, if you feel fearful, like, oh, they gonna rob me or scared, no, they be like, oh, this seemed like she a OG. I'd be like, yeah, I got sons probably older than y'all. So what's up? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So no, and it's just all about how you present yourself to the group, and it is awesome that you all are speaking in terms of helping to heal our community, because that's really what we need as a whole.
Let's get Mr. Poe in
Yeah.
Mr. Poe in the building.
How much you like yourself?
I just think,
Rodney, are you happy today?
I'm happy. I'm peaceful. I'm peaceful. I choose to be peaceful. And peaceful is a chosen act. It's a choice. It's peace. Being peaceful doesn't mean it's not a storm. Peaceful means that there may be a storm and you choose peace. So I'm peaceful.
Right.
Yeah. But in regards to the question, I think that lack of resources, lack of not knowing who we're really connected to, the identity. If I don't have an identity, then I'm going to search all over the place through music, through my neighborhood, through my uncles, through the prison systems, whoever they, So without being connected to a good root, it's easy to be led astray.
Coming up, man, one of the things that I have found myself dealing with was a lot of jealousy, and I used to be wondering. It's flip my wig.
You dealt with jealousy,
man. Especially when you're young, it's like, man, what's up with this cat right here? I'm smooth in the mud, man. And and that used to really, trip me out, man. And I used to wonder. I started wondering about me, like, man, what is it? Something about you, man? Is it a reason?
But there's more people that's hurt around you than you realize.
Yes, sir.
There's more people that's hurt around us than we realize, and we want to level them up to our, standards, or however, our day is going in our home. We may have woke up to breakfast, you know what I'm saying, a cup of orange juice. They may have woke up to a crack house.
Right.
Mother been gone, or father been gone, whatever, what have you. So, I think that, just like y'all talked about early, body language and being able to read a person, sometimes, you can read right, sometimes you can read wrong, but you got to be accountable enough to say, okay, well, I read you wrong, I apologize.
No doubt.
But we read each other wrong. I believe that a lot of this self-hate is instilled in us. I do believe in the Bible where it talks about training a child in the way it should go and it should never depart. That's an important piece.
Very important.
I can't quote the scripture, but I do know that it's important to our upbringing that the things that we ingest will only digest. Yeah. The things that we inhale will only exhale. The things that we watch will only act out. And I had a little moment to be able to speak with Coach in regards to community and how the community changed. I'm a 70s baby.
Right.
So seeing how, I remember time we grew up, you wake up in cardboard, be all on the block, stretched all out. Everybody been dancing all night. I remember the gangs were just a group of people that just wanted to dance and see who can stand the longest. It really wasn't about what other cities were doing.
Right.
I'm going to speak particularly about Milwaukee.
Yeah.
The Sheiks and the 2-7 and the 2-4s, the Banquettes and the 2-9, all these
Shakeheads.
Yeah, these organizations will come together in our community, and they will come deep.
Yeah, they will.
And it looked like it'll be a big fight, and before you know it, these girls is just dancing on each other, called the fight dance.
Yeah.
We lost that.
Yeah, we did.
We lost that. We lost the voice. We lost the leadership. We lost the accountability. And it's all stems from not being connected to a root.
Do you know at what point did we lose, or did it transition to a different form of unity? Because, and I say this to transition self-hate into what I consider the social standard, and meeting that social standard. Like, I grew up in the 80s. And we didn't have social media. We didn't have cell phones. Our exposure was a camaraderie that we was exposed to around us, whether it been the block, whether it been the city we from.
Right.
And so that allowed us to know what we was part of.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But now, at what point did it branch out, and where y'all to have so much exposure and so much, I know you could relate to this, you had so much influence on the world from the perspective of a musical career and rapping, where you had young men like myself who idolized y'all from a naive perspective and broke the mold because I didn't have a daddy. So if Ice Moan said this, or if Rodney Post said this at whatever level, I took a piece and it became me. Without even never meeting the youth of the community or the world, you are single-handedly responsible for about 95% of personality. If you're a player or a gangster, whatever you said was biblical. Because when you said it to this day, if it resonates through the community, when you sing, people don't see you, they see themselves. I want to wear his glasses. I want to groom this. And I come from a day where if Darwin looked like this and he is success to me, if he is authority, that's all I see. That's all I know. Now these kids, and at some point, the self-hate comes from not being able to adequately become who I feel I need to be to perform in the society that they have imposed me in.
Like, and with that being said, let me just interject this. We're close to a time where we're going to be wrapping this segment up. And what we're going to do is continue the conversation off camera. We'll go into the larger room. And for those people that have connected on any one of the subjects that they want to continue talking and continue it, but we want to begin to look forward to the next time. But there's a brother that joined us at the table that I want his voice to be heard. And so I'm just pass that mic and let's hear from that brother. And have your way, man. man. The mic is yours.
Yes, y'all. The one and only Ice Moan is in the building. Y'all make sure y'all give him some love. Come on, man. Listen,
give it up.
Y'all
Give it up for
his name.
Give it up for my brother, Doctor. Give it up for my brother, Dr. Darvin Moore, for facilitating and doing what he's doing. I love you, Darvin, man. Go ahead, Ice Moan. Moan in the house.
You know, Darvin arch enemy because everybody like, man, Darvin, you don't even want to get Moan come out, man. We see him on the internet working on a house or something, man. But you know, Polo, like, you know, I never been one that was egotistical. I wasn't selfish. If anybody know me, like, I always gave. I'm still giving. You know, if you ask me for something, I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna teach it to you. Man, this self-hate is just it's jealousy all wrapped up in one. That's the way I feel. Me and Darvin just went through something where, you know, man, Darvin, I have to call Darvin in the morning because sometimes, man, I be down and they be like, "Man, what you down for?" And it's so much self-hate, right? You know, because where I might celebrate something on the internet, they trying to tear it down. And Darvin made a post one day and he couldn't believe it. It took him a couple of days and he called me. He said, "Mom," he said, "Man, I put a post up saying, you know, man, we done hooked up. The real estate gang is the best. Y'all got to see my." The man said his inbox was full of death threats and hate messages. And I said, hey, Darvin, listen. I said, man, I stopped posting my stuff and it hurt me because that was my celebration of, you know what I'm saying, just how I felt good about me doing a house or how this bathroom look, and it's the same thing with the rap. You know, like when we used to rap back in our days, like he said, like, you know, when I seen reality, that's what made me rap. Cause I'm with my man and I'm like, I'm with real every day. If he, you know, it was motivation, but now today it ain't motivation, it's hate. You know what I mean? And it's bad, man, because like I say, you can't even celebrate in public. You know what I'm saying? Cause they trying to tear you down. You know what I'm saying? And it's different.
I mean, in regards to us being artists, us leaving a script that'll outlive us. You know, our music will outlive us. The things that we record.
Yo, definitely.
It's going to outlive us, our grandkids. So I think it's important that we do hold ourselves accountable. I think it's a great percentage of all of us have sold out. You know, the very thing that we talked about in the 90s that was so persistent and so profound, you would hear it, don't sell out, don't sell your soul. A lot of us have sold out. Yeah. And we've taken the bait to promote that horror story that's filling the prisons up, that's filling the graves up. Yeah. And that hook line, I was talking to somebody about this. In music, that's why, I mean, I'm from the streets. Seriously, I mean, I was born a child that grew up in church a great amount of my early years. But around 11, 12, my parents divorced. You know, it was the streets then. So I have to hold myself accountable when I say I'm talking about change, when I'm talking about growth and development, when I'm talking about becoming a man. I can't promote the things that I saw in the street without changing the narrative on how you can get it another way. Go through coach. You know, get your credit right, get you some money. Yeah. So, I mean, the accountability is on us when we are recording artists. I'm going to speak for myself. The accountability is on me when they're saying, okay, well, what do you want to do? You want a long-lasting career? What are you going to sing about, or what are you going to rap about? And for me, the hook is important. It's a chant. It's almost like a praise. It's almost like music is the head of everything. It ushers everything, every commercial, everything you hear. Anything it talks about in the Bible, it talks about God inhabits the praises, and you'll hear the trumpets and things of that nature. So music has a very important part in life, in programming and things of that nature. And it's been used to reprogram our children who were once programmed as Black Power, as leaders, come up on the people like Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, and things like, people like that. We lost that to NWA. And no shade on any of them brothers as artists. I just think they took the bait with the big bag. And since then, it's grown into a child that we call drill music now, in which kids are silly enough to actually do the things that they're rapping about.
You know what, Poe? This is what I want to do, man. You brothers look so good. Man, look at that, man, that screen, how y'all look. And we've been talking about hate. I want to just, can we get you brothers, man, like shaking hands and saying something like, hey, man, let's kill some hate. Listen, man, you feel what I'm saying? We talking about killing hate.
Well, I want to kill hate, too.
You know what I mean? Let's kill hate, man. You feel what I'm saying? This is kill hate.
Yeah, man. Oh, my mama.
No, just be a good role model. You know what I mean? Whatever that means to the person, how they see you. You know what I'm saying? Like Poe said, just switch it up. I mean, we all from the streets. That's something we can't change. Right. But the change is this. I'm finna switch it. The change is this. If anybody know we from the streets, but look what we had now. We all successful from the streets though. Whether it was gang banging, dope dealing, whatever we did, but we sitting here today as men and successful men. So you got to take that, and you can, like I say, you can still tell them you from the streets, but look what I done from the streets and where I'm at now. So that's the message of it. You know what I mean? And when I see other people, I see Rick Ross, and I know he went through the whole police thing, and he was a snitch. How you rapping about dope? But I look past that. Every time I see Ross, I'm looking at the 109 room mansion and the car. That's motivation to me. That ain't hate. That's motivation. And no matter where that man was at in life or what he did to get there, he got there. And that's the message you got to take.
I think a lot of people that distribute hate detach themselves from one, growth from where they come from to where they could be, and two, they disassociate themselves with people who have elevated from where they are familiar with. So most of the camaraderie that I lost in the path, and I associate myself like trees, they lose leaves. It's just part of nature. And I ain't messed up by it because I'm going to grow more every season, and I'm going to get bigger and taller. And guess what? It's going to get better. And my purpose going to serve more from when I was a seed to when I'm all the way up there.
Well, we certainly have been made bigger and better in this dialogue, in this conversation of coming together, hold that thought. We're going to carry it on after the podcast because we're at the time limit. And we want to do what we say with people. People are coming and going, and there are going to be other times we're just growing. So, Darvin, why don't you bring in your final thoughts, and then let's get Rob back in here so he can close us out, or however you choose to do it.
So what I was going to do, I was going to close it out. I was going to say, listen, man, we had a great session. We're going to have another session tomorrow on Saturday. We're going to have a real financial literacy set. We didn't talk financial literacy today, but I got a great lecture we're going to do on Saturday, man. I want all the brothers to come, bring a guest so we can really start talking about how we can really change the narrative. But listen, man, this is the 100 Gems podcast, home of the champs. Hey, let's look at them champs that's sitting over there again. Let's look at the champs, man. Listen, champs, I just want y'all to close out, because what we do, we try to give at least one gem when we lead 100 gems. So I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds to a minute to give the listeners a gem. Give them something, man, to leave on based off whatever you want. But let's give a gem, man, and we're gonna take it out with Rob.
Leadership and accountability. I mean, if you want to see the change, you got to be the change. And leadership and accountability. I think it's important to push that we're men before anything.
Thank you, Rodney. That's
really
cool.
And that doesn't push any other. That doesn't push women to the side. That doesn't minimize the importance of women. But you're a man before anything. It's important that men stand up. That's leadership and accountability.
Thank you, Rodney Poe, for being here. Come on, Mom. 30 seconds.
Come on, listen. I got a saying that I always say, and I'm going to leave y'all with this. Always see things for what they really are instead of what they present themselves to be.
You don't even have to have 31 seconds with that. Moan in the house.
I don't even need 30 seconds. I got two things that are always principle. When people show you who they is, believe them. And the number one rule for conflict resolution, you could be right or you could be happy, but you can't be both.
And then, Rob, let me give my final 30 seconds. It's gonna be 10 seconds. And my final is this: that we wake up is another day, another way, another chance to get it right. And those are the words of my son, Khalil Coleman. And keep fighting, son. God is going to deliver you.
Yeah, y'all, and that's 100 Gems Podcast, home of the champs. We had a great forum today. We learned some wonderful things. Y'all better keep on up, man. Tune in, go up there and subscribe. Hit that button because it's coming. And right now, what I love is our community.
Yes.
It's our community. I mean, I heard Mom say, yeah, you know, we brothers, we from there.
But what we love is 100 gems and you all that have put this together so that we can commune in unity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Once again, home of the champs, baby.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.